Making melodies last is the secret sauce.
What do you mean by that?
So I was making a beat the other day in the style of Bossman D-Lo.
I was bad in fucking school, now I'm trying to dodge a semen.
But the melody didn't really come to my head right away, but a thought came in my head to this, finish out the rest of the beat and then make the melodies last. And by doing this, I was able to come up with the melody a lot quicker, and also made it a lot easier to find that balance and keeping it simple but yet still fire. So I'm gonna walk you through this process, so make sure you watch to the end because it's a game changer once you see how you can relate sounds to one another and just play off of one another to give your melody that sauce. So for the first thing, I'm gonna lay down the 808s, and when it comes to Bossman D-Lo type beats, it's really just a Detroit kind of beat, bro. Starting off with that bass that just goes like, that's going to give you the foundation to have that bounce and that style while making this beat. So we're just going to start off very simple, go to our grid view, and let's just go to pad perform real quick, shifting 16 levels. I'm actually going to switch from A Phrygian to D sharp Phrygian. And I like the Phrygian scale because it sounds dark. Now you can use any minor scale, but typically you want to start off with like half note melodies as you hear in some of his songs.
I was down bad and they left your boy for I throw some ones, baby, you do that dance on me. Come here, baby. I throw 1,000 more keys.
So let's record that bass. So pretty much this is the foundation of the beat. Yes, there's a lot more that you can add, but it's good to start off simple. Then once you have that, we could just go to the drum track. So you could just go up here to the top and scroll to the next track, which is our drums. And I already pre-select the drums, so I have the kick, snare, hi-hat, open hat, another reverse open hat. And you can't have a Detroit beat without the famous laser effects. Now keep in mind, this is not the actual laser effects that he used in his beats, but when it comes to sound selection, you just want to think about similarities. It doesn't have to be that actual sound. But for the most part, we're going to have our kicks just follow that bass line and just give it a bit more bounce. So let's just do that. You can see how I added an extra note right here and then an extra note right there just to give it a bit of that bounce and keeping the snare in the typical place. And then we can just add in our hi-hats. I could just use note repeat. So double tap note repeat so that it can just latch on, meaning that you don't have to hold down note repeat and you can just play with the hi-hat just like this. Just keeping it very simple. Now when it comes to the rolls, you can really put it anywhere, but a good guideline or a good tip to follow is you can have it land on your kicks or before and after the kick, or right on your snare or before and after. Those are just like good places that you can just find to put your rolls. So I'm gonna actually use that. I'm gonna go to a 16th note and I probably will do a triplet. If I was to make it land on this second kick, let's hear how that would sound. See, that works. And even if I was to make it land on the clap, all of that works. So that's why I said sometimes it's just good to follow these quick guidelines. A lot of people are going to be telling you like, oh, you just got to feel it. For me, it's not just only about feeling it, especially when you already know. So it's like when you have music theory knowledge, it's just more of a plug and play. But it doesn't take away the feeling either. I still feel like I'm more immersed in the feeling because I know what emotion I'm trying to give off on the beat. So for the rolls, I'm gonna actually put it between these two kicks. So let's just do that. Now, I'm not gonna repeat the same thing. If you wanna switch it up, you can just have it land somewhere else. I think I'm gonna just make it land directly on that kick for the second part. Yeah, something like that. And then we can add in a different roll. And what we could also do is spice it up with 16 levels, make sure it's on tune, and then we can use different pitches. Then I could pick a different spot of where I want these rolls to come in at. And I think I want it to come right before this snare right here. So let's just do that. And then we can take it off at 16 levels. I can add in this open hat, and the open hat is really just gonna bounce off the 808 and the kick. And I can choose which kick or bass that I want it to land on. That's how you have your sounds just kind of play off one another. So let's just do that. I'm gonna have my open hat hit on this kick right on top of this roll. But also, if you wanted to give it a more bounce, do it before or after the kick, just like the hi-hat roll. So I'm gonna do it before this kick come in. Yeah, that sounds dope. Now you've seen the bounces coming together, and then I have this reverse open hi-hat. I'll just have that land on the downbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what you can do is actually take away certain sounds where that 808 was supposed to hit and substitute it with another sound. And that's pretty much what's happening with the reverse open hi-hat. And that's also happening with the kick right here. And I also put an open hi-hat on top of that. Now we can add, you know, that laser effect. So for this, I actually don't want it to be a triplet, so I could take it off a triplet. And yes, you can adjust your grid using the note repeat. And it's just going to snap right to that point. Now let's hear that back. So now you can just hear how everything is just playing off of one another. You hear the reverse open hi-hats is going into the laser effect. The laser effect is going into the hi-hat roll. The hi-hat roll is going into that snare. And that snare is going into that kick. And that kick is going back into that laser effect. Everything is just bouncing off of one another. And this is important once we get to the melody. So instead of using chords, I'm going to use octaves. Because chords can sound a bit happy even if it's a minor. So if I was to go to chords, and pretty much the 1-3-5 is going to play the minor of the D sharp, and if I go to G sharp, it's going to play the minor of that. So here's the D sharp. That's cool, you can take that route. I'm gonna actually just go to notes and mess with the octaves. So I'm just gonna go down, and if you see that's not going down, that means you just gotta go down a bank. You see how dark that sounds? Yeah, and I'm gonna follow that bass line. You can hear that the octaves are hitting on those 808 notes, and it doesn't have to hit on all the 808 notes. That would be too messy, but you just wanna find the spots where it does hit. So then I could just play with the melody. Let's go up an octave. Something like that. And then you know another common sound that he used are the bells. So we gotta bring in some bells in this. And I'm playing it right off the bass notes once again. Boom, 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 boom. And another thing when it comes to making beats for artists, don't just think about building more melodies to make the beat sound more full. Think about layering. I'm gonna just go to the piano track and I'm gonna copy this progression over to my brass channel. And you wanna rename it, or it's gonna keep the same name of the track you're copying. Press do it. So now when I go to my brass, it will already be on there. But also, remember to switch your program back to your brass settings. Now this is how it would sound all together. And this is how saving a melody for last is going to make your beats even more fire and your melodies a lot quicker to come up with, because then you can just base it off of your drums or your 808.